Great day, leaders. Welcome to the Speaking Life in the You Leadership live stream. I'm your host, Dr. Joe Griffin, where we talk educational trends, leadership dynamics, personal and professional growth, and we give you solutions for school improvement while helping you create a culture of collaboration and increase your leadership capacity. Let's go! I hope everyone is doing okay. I'm sorry about the delay today. Definitely has some technical difficulties, as we know how that is with this technical world. So other than that, I definitely want to see where you chiming in from today. I definitely want to see where you're calling in from. If you leave me a comment, I definitely appreciate it. Let us know where you're calling in from. We got a great show today. Creating a culture that wins the goal. That's what it's all about today. Creating a culture that wins the goal. Creating a culture that wins the goal. Culture is one of those things that you have to allow growth for. You have to allow growth for because it's in your people. It's in your people. Your culture is in your people. Let me get this right here squared away, you all. Creating a culture that wins the goal. It's your season. Speaking life into you, leadership live stream. We're going to definitely speak life with you each and every week. As leaders, you're on a journey and you got to bring your people with you. So it's about building teams that last, building teams that work. I've been blessed to have been a school improvement principal in several different tough situations. I mean, where let a school out of state takeover, prepared another school for state takeover. So I know what you're going through. I know the frustrations that you're dealing with, the pain, the heartbreak, the adversity, the conflicts that come along with building a culture of collaboration. But let me tell you, there's hope on the other side of that. I may be bald, but does not mean I'm not happy about the things that I've gone through in order to get where I have been as a leader. So with that in mind, let's be ready for today. Thank you all for joining us. I've got a wonderful guest today with us. I've got a good buddy, a mentor, a friend. He is a leader. He is one who has done quite a bit. I'm going to read you his biography, and then we're going to go from there. Dr. Robert Kirton. He has over 3 decades of dedicated service in community, military, and public education. His extensive career includes roles as a professor of educational leadership, chief educational officer, area superintendent, principal and career and technology education teacher. Currently, Dr. Kirton serves as a certified DNA behavior leadership coach, school climate specialist, author, and motivational speaker. Throughout his career, Dr. Kirton has achieved notable successes, including maintaining a cumulative graduation rate exceeding 95%. Notably, Dr. Kirton has been instrumental in securing and managing over $100 million in grants and resources, which have greatly benefited the educational institutions he has worked with. Under his leadership, the public charter school he founded and developed with his research graduated 100% of his Black male students. His exemplary contributions to the community have been recognized with the prestigious National FBI Directors Award for Community Leadership and Development. Dr. Kirton is driven by a passion for student achievement and success. He's deeply committed to supporting educational and community leaders, ensuring they have the tools, resources, and guidance needed to excel. I bring to the stage Dr. Robert Kirton. Great day, Dr. Kirton.
Indeed, how you doing, sir?
To see you today.
It's indeed a pleasure to be here with you, sir, Dr. Joe.
Thank you for joining us to bless the stage with your presence and with your knowledge and your wisdom. I read in your biography that you got over 30 years, 3 decades of dedicated service community, military, and public education. And I know we're going to talk today about the global DNA assessment. But if you would just give us a little more background, tell us how that plays into who you are and what you do.
Well, I'm glad to be with you, and I'm not going to put you into any test today since you said I was your mentor. I was going to ask you, did you have your DNA book that we've been studying for the longest, written by the founder of LBDNA, Hugh Massey, and Colonel Lee Ellis, who I was personally trained by Colonel Lee Ellis, and I'm passing it on down to Dr. Joe Griffin, who is also a certified global behavior DNA leadership coach, as well as myself. So we both share that, and we both taken a passion. I think it was around 2017 when we connected with this DNA concept and mirroring what he does as a global consultant and what I do with the DNA educational solutions and the DNA Professional Development Academy. So we are excited to be with you today. As you read from my bio, I've been in some tough schools as well. On my first school, a young man was killed in the hallway, and they brought me in to regulate behavior. I came from the alternative school, and they wanted someone to come in to take care of the behaviors and improve the climate. You know, that's the bottom line, to improve achievement, behavior, and climate. And those are 3 data points we measure in every school. And I've been in a lot of schools across the United States. We measure those 3 data points. So I know I'm having a couple of technical issues as well. I hope you're hearing me pretty clear.
Loud and clear.
Great.
Loud and clear. Definitely. Yeah, I definitely appreciate that. And I know that the work that we are embarking on is very valuable. And with our platform, of course, we want to add value to our constituents, those that are listening, those that are with us, that are on this journey with us. I also want to go ahead and make note that Dr. Kirton will be a recurring guest on the show. So every so often, every 4 to 6 weeks or so, we'll have Dr. Kirton on, and we'll share some more of our secrets, some of those things that we do to create that culture of success. And just like the USA Olympic team, we want to win the gold. We want to win the gold. And that's what it's all about. So would you give us a brief overview of the global DNA leadership assessment as far as what it does and what it looks like?
Yes. The global DNA behavior helps individuals and schools understand their natural behaviors, looking at their decision-making process and their communication styles. In the educational setting, which we've been working with and developing and doing our postdoctoral research on, it provides a framework for aligning your teaching strategies, student engagement, and leadership with behavioral insights to achieve better student outcomes. This approach emphasizes using data for individuals to identify specific needs and then taking actionable steps to address those needs.
I love it. Specific needs. So what I heard was you say a whole lot about self-awareness, far as individuals having to, first off, know what their specific strengths and struggles are. But take that a little step further and tell us how the assessment actually can help individual leadership styles. And you can start with the educators, start with the leaders, and then kind of move through the stakeholders, if you would.
Oh, it's definitely important. I'm working with the superintendent in Georgia right now, and he has developed a model and looking at the 4 R's, looking at rigor, relevance, relationships, and results. And relationships and results is important in our DNA assessment. You can't get results without relationships. So there needs to be a balance. So leaders need to look at how do they balance the relationships of the team to get the results for the students. How you can look at improving your individual and team dynamics within the school environment. So to put it shortly, sir, school leaders and educators can utilize this global DNA data to significantly enhance both individual and team dynamics. throughout the school environment. Now, they do this by recognizing and addressing the diverse needs and strengths. We all have strengths and struggles. One of my strengths could be I'm a great speaker, but my struggle, my wife could say I talk too much. So you have to look at that balance there between your strengths and your struggles. And you want to build on your strengths and address your struggles.
Thank you for that.
And I know that you do a lot of motivational speaking. And the first thing is you talked about self-assessment. You got to believe in yourself. You can't, you're in the airplane and the stewardess, the pilot comes over the intercom and they give you instructions. They tell you to put the mask on yourself first and then put it on your child. And the same thing is true in the educational environment. We got to make sure that we're sound in the classroom, that we look at adult social emotional learning and norms and working with teams and individuals so we can thrive, leading to improved academic outcomes, stronger relationships, and a more positive school climate.
Perfect. Understanding strengths and struggles is definitely paramount to understanding yourself. And you have to be able to understand yourself so that you can drive others to new, unimaginable limits. Empower them through knowledge of yourself. By that, I mean, the only way that I can be able to get the strength to your strengths is that I also know my strengths and struggles, because normally that's where your miscommunications happen, in your strength and my struggle, or your struggle and my strength, and vice versa. When those things meet up and we don't have that understanding that could be granted from an assessment such as the global DNA assessment, I definitely understand where you're coming from with that. What are some of the different leadership styles, individual leadership styles that are a part of the global DNA assessment?
Looking at it's 10 specific styles. You know, there are many leadership traits, and you can't put them all into one. You can't name all of them. So we categorize them, as you know from your research, into those 10 specific styles: initiator, relationship builder, community builder. So all 10 of them are very important. And no one leader comes from one specific style. There's no good style. There's no bad style of leadership. Good leaders do come from both and all categories of leadership styles.
Awesome. So leadership style, it doesn't really matter what it is. It's a matter what you do with it, how you use it, how you bounce off your strengths, how you deal with your struggles in order to get better. Because what I've learned through our research and through my research is that human behavior is the common denominator in building up a culture of collaboration. Therefore, we can get everyone on the same page with what our behaviors are, what we want to do, what's our strategy for our implementations, how we're going to get our high leverage or high yielding instructional strategies, how we're going to build our team together. All of that goes together as far as building up your team. And how would you say that educators will be able to use the results to address needs in the classroom to elevate student success?
I think they can help it towards professional development, looking at different workshops for individuals, learning their teammates. Like if a person is very introverted, maybe you might look at ways they can improve their lesson planning and delivery to students to get them more engaged and get them more involved. But I want to go back to the first concept, is believing in yourself. You have to believe in yourself. Look at your strengths, look at your struggles, look at your relationships versus results balance. But then you got to expect excellence. You got to expect excellence of yourself and others. Now, I didn't say perfection, but you got to expect excellence.
Excellence. Excellence. Gold standard. That goes back to that gold standard we talked about at the beginning of the show. You got to create a culture of excellence. to get that goal. So educators, they'd be able to assess their strengths and their weaknesses in order to better serve their students. Now, how could this assessment also help your other stakeholders?
Well, each and every stakeholder is important if you're going to have a winning team and a winning formula. Students actively engage, educators getting the right professional development and needs that they have to produce a climate of great instruction, even the community. And you might say, how is the community involved with data? Well, the community can provide support. Everyone needs to own the data. And we take deep dives into data sets for everyone, students, parents. You need to know how to communicate with your parents. You need to know how to get your parents engaged and involved in their child's educational journey. So it's important to act on what you know is right. Take action each and every day, moving towards your goals and your targets. But if no one knows that you have goals and targets, how they gonna know when they hit them?
Goal setting. That brings us to goal setting, which was actually one of the points that I wanted to discuss. So, with the global DNA assessment, how can it factor into goal setting? I know goal setting is one of those things that we must do. We've got to set a target. We've got to have a focus as to where we want to go or what it is that we want to accomplish. So how does the assessment help with goal setting?
Well, every school across the country, they take data points related to achievement. They take data points related to behavior, whether it's attendance data or the number of discipline referrals that you have. And then they take climate data, parent feedback, different surveys and formulas of that nature. So it's important that we make sure we recognize and address the diverse needs and strengths within the school. Leaders can foster a more powerful environment where both individuals and teams can thrive. And they can only thrive around those goals. They need to be smart goals. They need to be based on the data. Your goals and your data need to be connected. A lot of people ask me, what does DNA stand for in your DNA educational solution?
Yeah.
And I tell them, Dr. Joe, that data needs action. Too many times, too many schools, too many principals, superintendents, leaders, they collect data, but they don't take the appropriate action on that data. So your goals need to be target points that individuals can hit and say, okay, hey, you put out something to the parents and everybody, we want 100% attendance. Of course, you're not going to get 100%, but you shoot for that goal. And then you put measurable mile markers along the way and make sure everybody can strive to do better. It's like, again, expecting excellence.
Awesome. With that being said, I know that students generally have a preference for visual learning. And the global DNA model provides visuals within their results. Can you tell us how the visuals that come with the results can also help impact what any individual leader or educator does to better their practices?
Well, I'm a visual learner and I'm big on visuals, graphic organizers, making sure I think I told you the story. I was in a meeting. I was on the superintendent's cabinet and they went around the table and they asked everybody to say, tell them what book you're reading. We was putting an emphasis on reading. And someone said they was reading War and Peace, the foundational underpinnings of curriculum and instruction. And they got all the way around the table. And I had a chance to make up a book. But I said that I was reading Golf is Not a Game of Perfect. And everyone laughed at me. But really, I was reading. And that's what we need to get our young men doing, especially. We need to get them into more books. So I was reading something that was interesting in me. And it really wasn't about golf. It was golf is not a game of perfect, and neither is life. Life is not a game of perfect. We're going to make mistakes along the way. You're going to make mistakes with your team members, but you got to create an environment that's conducive to bring everyone back together.
I love it. I love it.
Under that common goal, sir.
I love it. You made a key point in that statement there, and I kind of want to go back to it. You made mention that in relationships, in the workforce, in dealing with teachers and students, you're going to make some mistakes. That's only natural. But this particular assessment allows you to kind of go back and look at why you may have made a mistake, how you may have offended a particular person. You get a chance to go back and to figure out what are their particular sub-factors, because it comes with about 64 sub-factors that tell you your strengths as well as your struggles. So those types of data points can help you go back and be a reflective thinker and help you be a better leader and help you deal better on the next time with your particular, whether it be student, whether it be a teacher, or whether it be other leaders. So I definitely appreciate that comment about the mistakes, because we're going to make those. We're going to make those. With that being said,
and you was talking just to touch on visuals again, you know, I didn't start out education as a traditional educator. I started out teaching building construction and industrial technology, cabinet making back in the day. And I started there. Then when I retired, I was area superintendent. So we can always find a path to get to the goals we want to get to. I know you're an English ELA consultant and you're strong in the English, you know, but I'm not. But that doesn't mean I can't communicate effectively. That doesn't mean I can't be successful. And the reason I like visuals so much because I have dyslexia, I have dysgraphia and dyscalculia. But I can tell you the square footage of this room I'm in. My mind is always wandering off on things of that nature. But the reason I can tell you the square footage of this room is because I built this house. So, but you know, when I'm sitting in a conference, I look up at the ceiling and I say, okay, those are 2x2 tiles. And I might count the tiles and then come up with the equation what the square footage of this room is if I'm bored. So my mind wanders like that. So I want to apologize to the audience, but that doesn't mean you can't be effective. You just got to find a way and you got to know your struggles. So I know that's my struggle. So I work on that. I work on my written, verbal, grammatical, nonverbal, because I know people are going to judge you by those things.
Right. And Dr. Kirton, he is a licensed contractor as well. We want to definitely give you that also. So we know that you are very talented. Also, I heard you talk a little bit about their strengths. So picking up on that, what are some of the different strengths that we can count on or hope to see from this particular assessment?
Well, that's going to be basically depicted by the individual. Like both of our styles are initiators. You're an initiator, I'm an initiator. However, you got some strengths that I don't have, and I might have some strengths you don't have. So you're going to have to look at you as an individual, what your strengths are. But the key thing is to build on those strengths, because if you ignore those strengths and say, okay, I'm strong in that area, it can become a struggle. And you want to address every struggle that you have. A lot of our young men in schools right now, you know, you talked about me graduating 100% of our black males, and that was a focus of my research and study, looking at black males. And I kept hearing this term, you want to hide something from a black man, put it where?
In a book.
So we got to start reading. If that's a struggle for a lot of our young men, and the data sets are showing that, and when we put you on the global behavior DNA platform, when you put your data into our database and we start looking at all the things that's going on, you're going to see some things. And sometimes you got to be ready to have a courageous conversation. And it's important to have that courageous conversation. And you know, you can't blame yourself for what you know about yourself already.
I'm talking my language now, Dr. Kirton. And I like how you emphasize the importance of reading, of course, with English being my background, English and leadership being my background. I definitely appreciate the emphasis that you continue to put on reading. reading opens up so many doors. It allows us to go places that we've never been. It allows us to see things that we've never seen. It allows us to actually be in places and feel like we're doing that we never done. So I appreciate it. And you also mentioned facing your fears. That's one of the key pillars in the DIP approach for student and adult success. Facing your fears and having this type of data in front of you about yourself not only gives you self-awareness, but it puts you in a position where you can actively go out and face the fears that you have. So could you expound on that a little bit more?
Okay. So, like you said, you have to face your fears. And that fear is sort of like a struggle. It's an obstacles. And we're going to all have obstacles in life as we face life. There are going to be obstacles that are going to come on our way, but how you deal with them is important. Now, if you shrink to your fears, you'll never grow. And you'll never elevate student success. And you'll never invest in your team. So you got to maximize your fears and the distractors, maximize your potential through your team dynamics. Come back in and fine-tune individual and group performance to unlock your team's full potential to address any fears, any challenges, any struggles that you might have as a school community.
I love it. I love it. Team dynamics and moving from individual assessment to the team dynamics that come along with the global DNA assessment. I understand that, I know that the global DNA assessment provides reports that allow you to see exactly what your teammates' strengths and struggles are. It tells you your top factors as well as sub factors as far as traits as what makes you go. So tell us about the team reports. Tell us what information we can find out from the team reports.
Yes, the team report is very similar to the comparison report as well. So with the team report, let's say that you're the principal or the builder, so you would be the team leader. And whatever your individual style is, whether it's initiator, relationship builder, reflective thinker, community builder, you would be there with your style, and then all your team members would be listed. And it shows how you interact with them. Some of them you have to work a little harder with because of their style, and others you come more naturally. You gravitate more naturally. But the key is with the team dynamics, you have to lead with impact for outstanding outcomes. Now, I don't want to jump into that piece because I know you're going to talk about leading with a purpose. But again, you have to lead with impact from the foundation to the finish of what you're trying to accomplish.
Definitely. And collaboration, teamwork. Last week, during the episode 1, I talked about collaboration being intentional, not random. Talked about collaboration being a mindset, not a strategy. Talked about collaboration being a journey, not a one-time event. And with that thought in mind, when you're building a team, what types of information can we gain from the assessment that will allow leaders to be intentional in how they deal with the teachers, students, and parents, or whoever takes the assessment?
Well, you're going to learn their communication style. You're going to learn about their strengths and struggles. You're going to learn how you connect with them as an individual. And you're going to learn what supports do they need to be successful. And the same is true for students. If you have a student that's more like me, more hands-on, more visual, you're going to need to look at adapting your lesson style, lesson plans to accommodate that student. So some people say, well, how can I accommodate all these different students? Well, your lesson plans have to be flexible. Your projects and your assignments going to have to let them bring in some of their strengths. And so you can build on their strengths, but don't shy away from their struggles.
Awesome. Awesome. Strengths and struggles. Again, they go hand in hand. I heard you mention visuals again. That was one of the key implementations that we talked about on last week as well. So those that did not get a chance to see last week's episode, make sure you go back. I gave about 10 strategies. Actually, it was 11, but I gave 10 strategies, and visuals was one of the ones that we actually talked about. Visuals increase the learning, they accelerate the learning by 65 to 400%, depending on the individual. So depending on who you are, you could get a boost in the learning from 65 to up to 400% when the learning is accompanied by visuals. So with that being said, decreasing the team dynamics, I want to quickly show you guys a report that will allow us to see those comparisons. So Dr. Kirton and I, we are teammates. We are affiliates. And a comparison report will look something like this. It'll tell us your leadership styles. Both of us are initiators. We actually are an 85% match in the things that we operate. Even so, we still had different sub-factors. It tells us where we are on each of those sub-factors. When you have upwards of 2 standard deviations difference in a sub-factor, that's when problems start happening. That's when those differences start happening. So with that in mind, when you got a report that's telling you what your differences are and where they sit and where they lie, think about the power in that. Could you expound on that a little bit, Dr. Kirton, as I kind of flip through and let the people see what a comparison report looks like?
Yes, and by the way, I'm gonna say you're doing an excellent job. Just hearing you bringing this back to me tenfold, you just regurgitating some of the things that we talked about in the past. But as you can recognize there, as you talked about moving away from 2 deviations from the mean and moving away from center, I want you to imagine that go back to that slide. Imagine that that's a bell curve there, and most people's scores are gonna be more towards the middle. But as you move away from the center, it gets to be more intense, more extreme. And it doesn't mean it's going to be a challenge or a problem, but, like, for example, up top, Joe's more of a take charge person. And he's moving extremely over in that area. That's one of his highest scores. And I'm more cooperative on the cooperative trait. Even though we have the same style, you can see the differences there. We both scored exactly the same versus reserve on the left-hand side of the column versus being more outgoing, fast-paced. We both kind of like fast-paced individuals, and I can see that when we're working together. He has no patience. I have no patience. So I already know that. I mean, I knew that from the report. And sometimes it's him and sometimes it's me. But more of the time, he has less patience than me. But, we're not going to go there.
I do want to get it done.
Another thing, we both on the spontaneous side. So we need to look at having individuals around us who are good at planning. My wife, my partner, she's a planner. I mean, she's an organizer. I mean, if I leave something out of the way, she puts it up. So even though I'm not a great planner, but I know what good planning looks like. And so I have to address that struggle that I need to explain my plans to individuals better, to my team. I need to explain my plan and not be so spontaneous. But I'm just a spontaneous guy. But that's a good trait because you got to think on your feet, move fast on your feet. There you look at our scores when it comes to being skeptical and trusting. And sometimes you can be too trusting. And sometimes you can be too skeptical. You got to have a good balance there and balance it out. So again, think about that. I'm going to go through each and every one of them, but think about that as the bell curve. And as you move further away from this curve, those traits become more intense and impactful.
I love it. And I just wanted the people at home just to kind of internalize what's on the screen right now. Because imagine if you had this type of information for each of your teammates, for everyone on your leadership team, for all your teachers, perhaps all your students, even your parents, superintendents, and principals, because this type of information is going to allow you to better communicate, to better hone in on strengths, to better help people with their struggles. Because it's our job as leaders to put people in position where they could be successful, not to put them in position where they could fail, but put them in position where their strengths outshine until we can come back and help them build up those weaknesses. It goes further. It tells you where you high, medium, low on various other traits as well. And just gives you a roundabout of great information.
Go back to Joe. Go back to that right there. Style match.
Okay.
The grid. The next one. Look like the checkerboard pattern. The grid.
Let's see here.
Right there.
Right there. Okay.
Right
that
there.
one. All right.
So
yeah.
Looking at this style matrix. You talked about the team report. This is a cornerstone piece of the team report here. So instead of having, there might be a name there, like the facilitator might be the principal. And then it's going to show how they work with the reflective thinker, how they work with an influencer, initiator, community builder, an engager. And it's going to show how much effort they need to put into that person and working with them. So looking at just looking at whether it's going to be minimal modifications needed to develop a good working relationship, some modifications or more modifications. But there again, I want to emphasize with our research, with our data sets and our global behavior DNA platform, there are no styles that are better than the other styles.
Love it. I love it. So that is just a quick, brief, very brief synopsis of the assessment results when in a comparison report. In what ways can the DNA model improve parental engagement and community involvement?
Well, the DNA assessment, and I like to give it to some of my parent leaders. You might not be able to give it to everybody, but I would like to give it to some key parents to get feedback on how I better communicate with different types of parents, with different types of parental skills and working with their students. Some parents want to be more involved. You give them a call, they right there at the school. Some parents don't want you to call them at all. They want you to handle that. So you need to know what type of parents you're working with and how they want to be communicated. Some of them want you to call them. Why you didn't call me and tell me he was failing all semester? And some of them say, why are you calling me? Just write it out on the report card. I take care of it. I handle it. So you got to have that balance in how you're going to work with your parents. So the DNA, the global behavior DNA, is going to show you how to make those steps, how to make those adjustments with your parents, how to communicate with them, how to get them involved, and the same way with the community. So the community might be involved, but they might be providing some incentives for student motivation. Now, when I was a principal at the Career and Technology Center, we gave away about 7 cars that you can get in and drive. And we based those cars, giving those cars away on our data, on our student data, and looking at ways we can get our community members involved. So the superintendent asked me, and I remember, he said, Kirton, are you crazy giving away a car to a high school student? You know how much liability you putting us in? Well, I said, well, sir, the Toyota dealership is giving away the car, and they're giving the car to the parent, but the student did the work. So now you got the parent involved, you got the community involved. I mean, it could be something like just giving out something for the most improved student. And I know you big on this as a principal, and so am I, about being visible in the hallways and things of that nature, just
Yes.
popping in classes. And I might ask the teacher, who is the most improved student? Who is the top student? And I give, then that way I can give something to everybody and I can make that connection. And I employ uh, my teachers to not just contact parents when the data is bad, but contact parents when the data is at the foundational spot where you're trying to get to the finish, and then keep them involved all the way through.
Definitely. Regular contact with parents. Definitely a vital implementation right there. So that kind of leads us into our last point for today, but we'll continue the discussion. Leading with purpose to improve student outcomes. And I know that with the global DNA assessment, it's designed to make the environment more productive, make it more positive. It allows leaders to connect with the hearts and the dreams of their people, to show them value, to be able to lift up their energy, increase their productivity as well as retention. What about the global DNA assessment do you think allows leaders to provide a more positive environment?
Well, as you've been saying, and in some of your other podcasts and other your presentations you've been doing across the country, leadership plays a critical role. And I fully agree with that. It plays a critical role in shaping the success of your students. So the leaders and school leaders, I would employ them not using the GBDNA model, but use a model to help you lead with purpose and looking at how you're going to drive student achievement. How are you going to get every stakeholder to take ownership of the data? Students need to take ownership of the data. We would do like student presentations where they make a presentation to the parent and the student led the presentation, and either the advisor or the guidance counselor was there with them, but the student had to own their data. Sometimes students don't even know how many credits they need to graduate. So, looking at leading with the purpose and driving student achievement starts with the student as the center and the focus point. Also, just getting parents more involved as well. So, leadership is not just the principal. Teachers are definitely leaders. Um, Even you want to be as visible as you can as a principal, but you're not in that class leading those students like a teacher. A teacher is a leader, and they need to see themselves as a leader, and they need to take the data sets and own that data and look at how they can diversify their instructional approach to reach more students.
Definitely.
So you know, you just have to look at using this model to help you as a tool, as a resource to help you lead with purpose. We have a separate DNA coaching model that it gives you specific challenges throughout the year. One of the things I hated as a principal, when I was a principal, superintendent, I hated these slick talking. They some good talking guys, I mean, but they didn't have any substance. They didn't leave me with anything. We did a lunch, we had a presentation, and I saw a lot of teachers walk out there and never pick up that material again. So with the global behavior DNA, we use what you're doing right now in the classroom. We don't bring in additional stuff. We bring in your data. We bring in the goals that you set, and we put them in our platform, and then we kind of bring it back out and helping you to lead with purpose and drive student achievement.
Love it. I love it. That's definitely one of the points that I've made here recently on one of the live streams is that leaders, they want consultants and coaches who've actually been down through the fire, who have actually implemented these things, who've actually turned schools around, who have actually created cultures of collaboration that will sustain success. So I definitely understand where you're coming from when you talk about creating that culture of collaboration, getting that teamwork, creating that buy-in, which ultimately leads to ownership of the vision. Could you highlight a couple of instances where results were achieved through the global DNA model?
Yes. Work with a lot of schools, and one school I'm working with, and I don't like to, because I do a lot of personal coaching, so I don't like to name school districts I'm working with, because I do coaching with superintendents, I coach with principals, and you know what? I learn just as much as I give, and like I've learned a lot about from you, Dr. Joe, with technology and things of that nation, with the latest things that's going on out there. So I don't like to name the schools, but this one school I'm working with, and I'm very impressed with them, and and what they're doing with their reading initiative, and how the superintendent is getting everyone engaged in his superintendent's readers or leaders concept. So we did the DNA assessment with all of his principals in the school district. So that gave him data back about his style versus some of the principal style, and I think uh, about half his principals were relationship builders. So they have a good dynamic. He's a reflective thinker as the superintendent, and they have increased their reading scores tremendously for a small rural school district. I remember he invited me when the State Department came out and recognized their school and what they're doing with reading. So leading with purpose, Dr. Joe, means setting clear goals, setting goals that align with the strengths you already have. Like this particular school district, their strength was they were making substantial progress with reading. So we linked on to that, and we started to build more on that strength of delivering reading concepts at the lower level. Now, as I told you, my background has started out with career and technology education, also looking at behavior intervention, being over the hearing board for a large school district. So that was my purpose. But in having conversations with you, Dr. Joe, about ELA, that's one of the things that impressed me with you, because communication is important. And even though we graduated 100% of our Black males, I remember one young man, he was in the gang, and we convinced him to put his gun away. And he put his gun away. And no less than a week later, he got shot in the leg. And he said, man, you know what? Y'all told me to put my gun up, put my gun away, and look at, man, I done got shot and everything. And I said, you know what? This young man just taught me something. That was a struggle that we had, not that he had. We need to start earlier. We need to go into the elementary level. So I got engaged with looking at ways to reach elementary students with our BEAST school climate model. And we still take the global DNA to start off the foundation, looking at self-assessment, self-awareness, not just for students, but for instructors as well.
Awesome. And
so, go ahead.
Well, I'm just going to touch on the fact that you mentioned self-awareness, and I was going to ask you to elaborate more on how that plays into social awareness, which is also one of the key SEL competencies.
Oh, most definitely. Self-awareness is definitely linked to social awareness. The awareness of your team, the strengths and struggles of your teammates, looking at things that might offend your team. When you start talking about diversity, equity, inclusion, which is a nice terminology, something deep I'm into, looking at diversity, equity, and inclusion. So, I think those are some of the things there, but I want to go back again, and I want to emphasize, because you had that as one of your prompts for me, leading with purpose. And as we talked about the goals and aligning those goals with the strengths, but making every initiative that you're going through, like the data says this at one particular school district I was working with. I think it was in Baltimore. And I asked them, and I said, who scores the lowest? They said Black males. I said, who has the highest suspension rate in your school district? Black males.
Yeah.
I said, how about the lowest graduation rate? They said Black males. So that means that from this data, you need to have some initiatives that's going to address that subgroup of students. You can't ignore the data. And that's why Data needs action. DNA. All data needs some type of action. If it's good data, you need to build upon those strengths. If it's struggles, the data shows that you're struggling there, you need to address that purposefully in an impactful way. This approach of DNA, data needs action, and looking at the global DNA, the global behavior DNA platform is going to help create and motivate your team and boost student achievement.
I love it. I love it. Data needs action. Everyone hear that? DNA. Data needs action. Data provides you a clear viewpoint of where you are. And having a clear and objective viewpoint often lessens the load on relationships. I'm going to say that again. Having a clear and objective view often lightens the load on relationships. Relationships are what drive your school. Relationships are the foundation for collaboration. Relationships are the things that are going to get you from a B rating to an A rating, or from a D rating to a C rating. Those relationships, those bonds that you make within your team, those are the big things. Data needs action. Great point right there, Brother Kirton. Anything else you want to add about leading with purpose to improve student outcomes?
Well, when you're leading with purpose, you're improving people's lives. You're going to know you're improving people's lives. This is serious business here. We're not making tires. We're not making hammers. We're not making cabinets. We're improving people's lives, especially young people's lives. So an effective data system can help your organization to improve the quality of students' lives. This data needs action can help you make, and from the global behavior DNA platform. And the reason I'm struggling with that, because for many years working with Colonel Lee Ellis, I was under leadership behavior DNA. And he helped us to move this to more of an educational setting, to this global concept that we're working with now with this platform, which has over 30 years of research in it. It helps you make informed decisions. Data equals knowledge, and knowledge is powerful. But knowledge is not powerful without action. You can have all the knowledge in the world, but if you don't have action, it's not powerful. But data equals knowledge, and knowledge is powerful when you take action.
Love it, love it, love it.
I'm not going to go down everything about data because, I can keep rolling down this subject. We didn't have many conversations, but data stops molehills from turning into mountains.
Okay, now say that again for us.
Data stops molehills from turning into mountains.
I love it. I love it. Because you can get control of the situation.
You can get control of the situation.
You need. You know your strengths. You know your struggles. You know your weaknesses. You know your trends in the data. You can see where things are aligned. You can see where you made your mistakes. You can see what you need to correct moving forward. Yeah, I definitely love what you're saying.
Yes, sir. Dr. Joe, data helps you get the results you want because it allows you to measure the goals and the effectiveness of particular strategies that you're using. You can say, okay, we got this strategy here. Just going to give an example for Black males. So we came up with a program called the Brotherhood, because I was at that school where a young man got shot and killed in the hallway. He was a Black young man. They brought in all kind of consultants, and I can remember just one consultant saying, well, Black males, even in middle-class families, score lower than anyone else. And I took exception to that. And I said, well, and then when I started doing research, I said, it's true. So data helps you to stop the guessing game. You don't have to guess with data. Data will help you explain both good and bad decisions to all those stakeholders that we talked about earlier, because everyone has to own the data. Students, parents, educators, building leaders, everyone has to own the data. So data helps you stop this guessing game.
Awesome, awesome. One of the primary strategies that I provided on last week out of those 11 strategies for creating a culture of collaboration was actually data talks, having scheduled data talks with every student and adult in the building. And I know that having data from the global DNA assessment could definitely assist those conversations, because I encourage leaders to go ahead and set the data talk for during this first 9 weeks, and make sure you set another one during the third 9 weeks, because remember, collaboration is a journey. It's not a one-time event. So it's something that we want to revisit, something that we want to continue to work at. With that being said, how do you see data impacting the entire all of the stakeholders, as well as the school and district?
Well, data allows you to build on and replicate your areas of strength across the school organization. Data analysis will support you to identify high performance programs that you have in place already, service areas, people that you can put in place to make strategic differences. But data helps you keep track of everything. It helps you keep good data, allows you to establish baselines and foundations and goals to build upon. You see, baselines are important. They're like foundation. Foundations like character. Now, you mentioned about me being a builder, and what people say, "Oh man, you built a beautiful house, man." But what they don't see is the foundation. What they don't see is the baseline that you had to start from. And if you don't have a strong foundation, if you don't establish benchmarks and baselines, and we show you all of that with the global DNA platform, that's important. That helps you make the most out of your money. That helps you make the most out of your leadership. That helps you to lead with purpose. And funding is increasingly outcome and data driven. So to win grants and things of that nature, we've written over $100 million in grants for school climate initiatives. And with that shift for funding based on the services that we're trying to provide for our students, you got to have good data. So if you got bad data, you make some good lemonade out of it and go after some grants that you have. So all data is important.
Definitely. And focusing on strengths is definitely crucial. But when leading and managing others, we have to be keenly aware of our struggles. We have to be keenly aware of our struggles, because that's the obstacle to good relationships. Remember, our strengths, we have those, but our struggles often are where we bump heads, where we miscommunicate, where we misinterpret things. So it's crucial that we focus on our strengths, but also be keenly aware of those struggles. And all that amounts to leading with purpose. That amounts to us assessing team dynamics. That amounts to us trying to improve team dynamics to create a culture of collaboration. I definitely have enjoyed our talk today, Dr. Kirton. Are there any things that you want to add? I know that you're going to be a recurring guest on the platform, so I definitely want people to get familiar with you. But what would you like to add as we prepare to close out? And please make sure to give your information as well. I'll put that up for you also.
Okay. Yeah, you got that slide about my information?
Yeah.
For some reason, I lost you on the screen, but I'm just going to go ahead. But I can still hear you.
Okay.
I'm going to say to everybody, your organization probably already has most of the data and the expertise and the expertise that you need to be successful. So what we want you to do is utilize that data to take you to the next level. So we have resources, we have tools, whether it's school climate and assessments, whether it's DNA coaching model, for individual coaching, whether it's looking at team reports and team dynamic situations. We have all the resources you need to be successful. And one of the things I hate, don't burden me with more extra work. We're going to use the data that you're already trying to be successful with. We're going to use the data that's going to help you keep track of everything you need to do and not giving you more work to do. Our platform, Dr. Joe is a certified global DNA coach, and so am I. So we know what we're doing, and we know what you're doing well as soon as we look at your data. And we're going to help you replicate areas of strengths, and we're going to help you address struggles. We're going to look at that population of students that you can't move. We're going to look at them before you get them, after you get them, and we're going to help you be successful with students.
Love it. I love it. I love it. That's Dr. Kirton's information. You all on the board. Definitely want to express sincere gratitude and appreciation for those who have joined us today. I apologize for the technical difficulties at the beginning of the show. We will definitely get that worked out for the future. Please, as Dr. Kirton just mentioned, he put his contact information. Here's my contact information as well. We do work together and we do work separately. So feel like if you want to improve your culture of collaboration, if you want to assess your strengths, your weaknesses, you want overall comprehensive school improvement, please make sure you address us. Get in contact with us. I also have a number of books that come with the platform. Want to definitely remind you to get the DIP approach for student and adult success, which is an activity book. It is for students and adults to help you self-actualize. The guidebook is the reading component. And then, of course, the DIP approach for educator success manual. 40 step-by-step implementations to help you improve your leadership capacity. Remember, all teachers are leaders. All students are capable. It's the model that drives us. So please feel free to contact Keynotes. I do keynotes, professional development. We just talked about the global DNA assessments and training that we provide as well. So otherwise, I want to thank everyone. I do want to leave with a couple of affirmations. I didn't do them at the top of the show today, but I want to leave you with a couple of affirmations. I study my craft. Repeat after me. I study my craft.
I study my craft.
I use data to enhance what I do.
I use data to enhance what I do.
I understand my impact on my students' futures.
I understand my impact on my students' future.
Be inspired, stay motivated, continue to build up your self-awareness so you can better lead through and with others. Elevate towards student success. You are Dr. Joe, you all signing off, always speaking and writing life in you. Have a great day. Thank you for joining.